Good afternoon, Year 9, and welcome to this tutorial on English Language Paper 1, Question 3. Now we know that this question is all about the structure of a text. So the best thing that we can do is read the entire text to be able to understand the sort of tone and sort of mood that's being presented there before we start to break it down. So the best thing I would suggest is that you read that opening box. So you already, the example is giving that to you to kind of establish what's the main focus of the text. So 13-year-old Ruby is cycling to her grandmother's ranch in the open grasslands of America, an area known for tornadoes. Despite a storm being predicted, she thinks she can make it in time, but she is wrong. Right, so for me, two things I can pick from that. We're focusing on one character here, a young female, and we've got this sense of the danger that she's in from sort of natural elements. So the best thing you can do is read through the whole extract. Now I've only got a section of it up here, and then what you want to do is break it down to 5 key points. And that's what you're going to do today. You're going to fill in that table thinking about the way that the writer has structured this to make us as a reader feel a particular thing at a particular point. So let's do the first couple together. She hadn't travelled more than halfway there when she realised she'd left it too late. All right, so I'm already being established the fact that a mistake has been made from the opening sentence. We already get that sense of sort of impending doom, that sense of something's not quite right. Turn back, keep going, it didn't matter. She was never going to make it to the ranch before the storm struck. Okay, so I already get the sense of her vulnerability, of her helplessness in the sense of the storm. So I'm just going to highlight turn back and keep going. I'm going to give it a little circle of 1. And my key word that I'm going to use is opening. Now I need to think about the emotions that it's presenting here. So I'm just going to put a couple of key sort of vocabulary to support this idea that I've got here. Now you can use the thesaurus to help you. So if you see, for example, if you said something like she's feeling scared or she's feeling a sense of danger, you could look it up and look at this idea of it being menacing or that sense of fear. So I'm going to start with the idea of her sort of being vulnerable. There's this sort of sense of helplessness even. What's she going to do? She's stuck. Alone. It didn't matter. She was never going to make it to the ranch before the storm struck. Right. A lone tree grew out the only raised piece of land in more than 100 miles. A tree bent sideways by the relentless west wind and the only landmark on the whole horizon other than the marching telegraph poles. All right. Now, I think actually what that opening paragraph does is actually gives us a bit of the setting as well. So I'm going to think about the fact that we get this sense of vulnerability, but also the setting reinforces a sense that this is a place of danger, that this isn't the only time. It's not like she's been caught out by this storm. This is a place that regularly has them. Right, let's move on. But it was a good landmark. She remembered how the tree grew out of a rock, not a cave exactly, but a pile of stones so heavy that they looked like they had moved in more than 10,000 years. All right, excellent. So if we think about it, the writer here is starting to really focus at this point on the tree and the rock itself, which contrasts directly with that tornado. The girl saw at once that if she could make it to those rocks and climb between them, then she would escape the tornado's hold. All right, so she's realising a plan. She's creating a plan ahead. She let go of her bike and abandoned it right there. Right, the pace is starting to pick up now, isn't it? We realise that, she is facing death if she doesn't save herself. Where it fell, on the tarmac road. She began to run across the open grassland, feeling the whipping wind as she fled. She ran like the devil himself were chasing her, ran like all hell was biting at her ankles. Okay, so I think by this point I need to have my second key idea, and I'm going to focus on this idea of her running because it's repeated that 3 times there we get. Apologies. So I'm going to see ran like the devil himself, and in fact I might even just take she ran as well. And that's my second point. I'm going to think about the fact that the text has started to focus on Ruby's response here. All right. Now the fact that she's running so fast shows that she understands the danger that she faces. That idea that death is quite real at this point, and that sense of sort of it's like a panic, but it's not, because she's running like the devil himself. So there is that sense of her sort of fear coming to play here. And I'm going to put panic here. Okay. Now I can work on my vocabulary. I can look it up in a thesaurus, and you can do that yourselves. Ooh, look, there we go. The coarse grass was slurring her movement, wrapping around her legs, but she wouldn't let it pull her down. There were the rocks and the half cave. She threw herself in just as the whirling funnel picked up overhead, and through the crack in the stone she saw her little green bicycle hooked up by the finger of the wind and pulled high into the centre. Wow, look at that. I mean, you've got that contrast between the stones themselves and the wind just throwing away her bicycle. She didn't notice the hissing thing. The wind drowned out its sound, nor did she notice it raise its head and open its jaws wide, exposing those perfectly sharp prongs of teeth. She felt it though, a sharp pain followed by a sickening ache, a strange sensation. Okay, we know that there is always a shift in the text within question 3, and I would suggest that this is where we get it. We think that she saved herself from the wind, we think that the danger has gone, and now we're suddenly faced with a second danger, which in some ways is more insidious, but is far more deathly. She didn't notice the hissing thing, the wind drowned its sound, so I'm going to use and open its jaws wide, because there's that sense of it being ominous, of it being inevitable again. And I'm going to put number 3 next to that. And I'm going to put the idea of it being a shift. This sense of it being ominous. Sort of an unknown, a hidden danger. So I'm going to put the use of a hidden danger as well. Okay, so I would go through the rest of the text and I would finish off doing that. So you're looking to have sort of those, I would make sure that I've numbered them so I know exactly where I'm going. So up to 5 key points. Remember, you also need to make sure that you look at the ending of this. So I know really that I've got another point to make in the next section, and then I need to look at that final paragraph or final sentence. You know, how does it end? And then what I need to do is I need to start actually thinking about the way I'm going to structure my answer. So what we've asked you to do is we've asked you to fill in the table that you have got attached to show my homework, okay? And I'm just going to show you how you could do this. So here's one that I made earlier. Who doesn't love that line? So you've got your feature, you've got your examples on the extract, and then the effect on the reader. So I'm going to start with the idea of the opening. So I know that my key word, my key green word is going to be opening. And I'm going to make sure that I start with that. So if I start to create my sentence, it'll be something like, from the opening lines. The text is structured from the opening around a sense of impending danger. Now, I know that I want to use a couple of examples. So I'm going to take that turn back, keep going, and a tree bent sideways. I've kept my quotes short and sharp for that purpose, that I can actually explain the effect of them rather than taking a whole sentence and not having anything to say about it. Now, we know that we use Chris Rice. I'm going to think about which Chris Rice words I'm going to use as I talk about the effect on the reader. So, reveals, I've decided to use here, reveals the imminent danger that Ruby faces, okay? But I don't want to take it, I don't want to just do that. I want to take it a little bit further to sort of establish why I've taken that second quote, a tree bent sideways. So the inevitability, and destructive nature of the tornado contrasts with Ruby's vulnerability and insignificance, right? So I've taken that idea that the danger of the tornado, and I've thought about it in terms of the way that Ruby's reaction is in that opening paragraph. And there's my first point created and broken down. So let's try another one, shall we? So we know that the second one, we started to look at that sense of her reaction to it. So just as I had put on my plan, I've thought about the focus. The focus here is the character. It's Ruby herself. And so therefore, I've taken that very simple quote. She ran like the devil himself was chasing her. Right? What a lovely simile that's added there. Okay? But we don't need to talk about the simile. We need to think about the way that that's being used in the text as a whole. Okay? So I've used my Chris Rice again. Creates a tone of haste. So haste is another word for speed, for something that is fast. She has to make a quick decision. There's no faffing about here. To reinforce, so coming back to those Chris Rice words, the impending menace. So instead of using fear or scared or danger, I've used that word menace to show the sort of death-likeness of the tornado, and reveals Ruby's fight to survive. Absolutely. That repetition of ran shows that she is doing her absolute best to make sure that she survives this tornado. Okay, Year 9. I think that with those two examples and breaking down the extract, that you are more than capable now of having a go yourselves. Now, these are just my examples. There are other things that you could have picked out. So good luck, enjoy, and we look forward to reading your answers.